Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Leon Morales. I'm the President, Managing Director here at DNA Behavior, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this awesome Introducing Money, Energy, and Coaching webinar that we're hosting. Over the last few months, Hugh mainly has been really focused on the money energy conversations, running a few webinars on the subject. We had our biannual conference in October, and we're very excited about what we're going to unveil today. So with that, I do want to just make sure everyone understands we do have the microphones of each person muted, but you can ask questions in the chat box. There's a chat function on the bottom. Please ask questions because it's quite important. It really reinforces the knowledge and the understanding. And we will answer those in real time if we can, at the time allots. And for the three best questions, we'll present to Hugh at the very end of his remarks, and then we'll try to answer those in real time. We are recording this session, and we will actually send out the recording probably later today or tomorrow. Well, you'll get a copy of that and any sort of notes from this webinar. So without further ado, I'll just give you a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. Having worked with coaches for the last 22 years and being coaches ourselves, we know what it takes to be a great coach. And it's a combination of traits that include excellent communication skills, confidence, a positive attitude, empathy, that's sometimes very difficult to sort of express, and the ability to see the whole picture. That's why you're good at what you do. But there's one area of expertise that even the best coaches could use coaching of their own. In fact, adding this capability into your own firm could exponentially sort of expand your practice, plus your clients' well-being. I'm talking about the improvement around the relationship with money and how to build money energy. And that's what we're pretty excited about, because it's not just a concept, it's actual science. And Hugh will walk us through this methodology so you can infuse it into your own coaching techniques. In turn, you can help make it, you can stand out from others that do this type of work, that do coaching, really having this sort of in your tool set. As I mentioned, please put questions in the chat box as we go through this, because there'll probably be a number of concepts that might be new to you, and we'll want to make sure that there's a full understanding of that. And without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce Hugh Massey.
It's great to be with all of you today, and I always like to start every conversation with a positive moment. And recently I was in Australia, Sydney, Australia, where I come from, and a lot of my heritage is around cricket. A very famous game played in and amongst the Commonwealth countries. And in 1882, my great-grandfather played in the first cricket match for Australia in London against England. Australia won, and he got the highest score. He was basically the player of the match, the MVP of that game. And he came back to Australia, and later that year, the English came out to Australia and they played the first test match at the Sydney Cricket Ground, which is where I'm standing here with my 91-year-old mother. And he was the captain of the side. And we've got in our family a lot of memorabilia from my great-grandfather's days. And I've got a younger brother, John, and we're both very passionate about cricket. It's the love of our life. We can talk about it, play it all the time. I've got a child who's 10 years old, my son playing cricket. I'm playing cricket once a week myself now because of him. It's just deep in our blood. But what do we do with all this memorabilia? And John and I dug deep into our hearts and looked at our families and said, these trophies, memorabilia should not be kept by us. We should make them available to the public. And my brother couldn't be with us last week when we did this, but my mum could, and we presented the two bats that my great-grandfather used in those games, along with other trophies. So there we are. But it is a a good story to reflect on in terms of your identity, the role of your heart, and money, because we could have easily kept these items, or we could have gone and sold them perhaps for quite a lot of money. I don't know what we would have got. I think they're priceless, but these are all considerations that you have to think about all the time when you make a decision. And that's a lot of what coaching is about. And in my career originally as a CPA, now more as a behavioral scientist and entrepreneur, I've had to make lots of decisions, and I've watched others make decisions. And what I do know is that we are all a product of our decisions. Who we are today reflects the decisions that we've made subconsciously and consciously through our lives. And when I do identity conversations with people, coaching exercises, or just sometimes conversations, I run people through what I call a lifelines exercise. Sometimes I do it formally, getting them to draw a picture of their life, the ups and downs, starting at age 0, going up to their current age. And sometimes it's just kept more as a conversation. But what I've noticed is patterns of decisions in those good and bad moments. And that really led me to want to know more about why those patterns were occurring. And what I started to realize is that when people are making high stakes decisions, or decisions under stress, usually, they are making very similar types of decisions. There's a consistent pattern there. And that's what I wanted to uncover. And often money is involved in those decisions as well. And so therefore people's financial behaviors show out, and they make similar types of financial choices as well when they're under pressure or in these high stakes decisions. So this led me in 2001 to build the DNA discovery systems that we have today, and to uncover what I call people's natural hardwired behavior. Not only in terms of their talents, which we're all used to seeing in personality and behavioral discovery systems, but also their full financial behaviors. Because this was part of my purpose, was to help people all over the world become self-empowered so that they could unleash their money energy that's inside them for greater happiness, success, and health. And a key part of this that I always knew is that money causes stress for people, and it leads to this pattern of decision making, but it can also lead to happiness issues and health issues because of the stress. And so if I take a story of a CEO that I was coaching recently, and just take a snippet of that situation, and just let us assume that her name's Jenny, and she's the CEO of a $50 million plus turnover business. And Jenny is under great stress. Which is being caused by the budgets. And if anyone knows our DNA systems or people a bit, Jenny is an engager person. She's very outgoing. She's great with people. But having to deal with the structured side of the business, the planning side, the numbers, is a little bit more challenging. And no one's got all the gifts to do everything well and be comfortable with it. But when you're moving into the headwinds that we've got right now in the economy, this starts to get tough when you've got to deal with budgets. You've got sales teams to deal with. You've got a board that's pressuring you for results. You've got to keep everybody inside the business engaged. And when your remuneration is partly driven by the sales revenue and partly by other culture-related performance indexes, getting those two to gel it all becomes quite tough. And Jenny goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, your blood pressure is way up, and you've got hypertension. I need to give you pills. Well, is that really the satisfactory solution? It might be a tick in the box for the doctor, but is it getting to the functional cause of the problem? And what I uncovered was that Jenny, being Jenny, and engager type people like to spend more money. She had actually racked up quite a lot of personal debt, and moving into a higher interest rate environment, she really needed to ensure that her income was going to continue in the future and she's going to get her bonuses. And this was putting her under a lot of pressure and causing her not to sleep at night, which is having the impact on her blood pressure. So, you know, the moral of the story here is to really understand as coaches what the functional cause of the problem is. We could have stopped at the health issues and said you need to relax more, but we've got to and find other ways to deal with the business pressure. But Jenny had a lot of life pressures in there as well, and that whole story needs to be uncovered, and the role of money needs to be uncovered there. And this is what I want to bring to all of you as coaches, and I know some of you are financial advisors as well, and that are on the call today. But is how do we have these money conversations with our clients? Because it is part of the whole package of what we do. A money conversation is not just an investment management conversation. It is a life conversation. It's a business conversation. It's in every decision. And the DNA systems that we have developed side by side through the same discovery process uncover a person's talents, but also their money behaviors. And so that's what we're bringing to you, and that's, you know, what I want to emphasize today to boost your coaching practice by being able to have conversations about money and to understand what some of the functional issues a person might have. Now, one of my realizations is that money is omnipresent throughout our lives. Where is money not present? Somewhere, directly or indirectly. Money is always there, and it creates a very subtle pressure on people. Sometimes it's just sitting in the pressure of it sitting in our subconscious. And I've always, or at least in the past, used to use the term a lot, money never sleeps. And I used it around the notion that, you know, if you put your money in the bank and invest it, you'll keep on making more money while you're asleep. You don't have to actively work for it. But money is working as well in your subconscious mind. The thoughts that you take to bed are going to be manifested in some way in your life. And therefore, you need to take good thoughts to bed about money. Well, if you're going to do that, you need to be able to have good money conversations. You need to have a good relationship with money. And I just want to emphasize that whatever decision that you make, whatever you're doing in your life, money is there and it needs to be dealt with. And therefore, as a coach or as a financial advisor, the deeper issues about money in a person's life need to be addressed. And I am very passionate about this at the moment because I believe financial stress kills people. And there's lots of research out there. This is the American research, but there's Australian research, South African, English, wherever you go, there's research out there that people in some way are feeling pressured about money. And money is becoming a major happiness and health related topic. In a way, the new wealth is not just about money, it's also about happiness and health. And if you're stressed, which I believe the biggest cause of stress is money, it must be having an impact on your happiness, and it will be having an impact on your health. And so we all need to deal with where money is causing us stress in our lives. And, you know, for some people, it's because they don't have enough money, fundamentally have enough money. They're not earning enough income. But for those of us that are more fortunate to earn, above what the Happiness Institute says, research says is the minimum required in America of $105,000 to be happy, we have a whole lot of other problems that money causes us, and most of that's in our mind. It's our perceptions of what the money issues are, whether it's an issue in relationships, what we do with our children, how we handle a business partner, decisions we make in our business each day, where we go to eat for dinner, where we go on holidays. Money is there as a pressure. And if we want to solve the health issues that we each might have, live longer, we need to deal with money. And at the end of the day, prevention is better than cure. So being a functionalist, I want you all to get to the bottom line of what might be causing stress. Now, me being a functionalist, a very logical person, I don't want to just talk about money, energy, and the energy of money and the fact that it's there. That's very invisible. I want to make it visible. And the only way to make something visible is to measure it, is to put a number on it. And that's what I set about doing this year, is to design a formula to measure money, to quantify it. Now, what is money energy? Because this is important to understand. It is the power and capacity to generate wealth that becomes a force releasable into your life at any time. What I am not saying here is that your money energy is about how much money you currently have. That may be a factor, but it is not necessarily the determinant of your money energy, because some people earn a lot of money or have a lot of assets, but their money energy can be low, or they can make decisions that deplete it. What we're talking about is your potential. And all of us have an infinite potential to create money. Ultimately, whether we do or not comes down to our conscious decision making. So a lot of what I'm saying here is I want to, through my purpose of helping people become self-empowered, is wake up their consciousness about money. And money, to a large degree, is what we think money is. Yes, it's a currency. It's in a bank account or an investment account or in a house. But a lot of money is, and this discussion about money is about our perception of it and what it represents. And that comes from understanding our behavioral style. So addressing money is a behavioral issue. Addressing money energy is a behavioral issue. We are all born with a certain level of money energy that's wired into us because of our behavior. And by the time you are 7 years old, your subconscious mind is set to a level of 95%. Put another way, your DNA behavior hardwiring is set at 95%. That's your, if you want to call it, subconscious mind about how you are going to deal with money. Even though at 7 years old, you may not have had a lot of money experiences, it will start to show out in your life dealings, because your behavior shapes your life perspectives, which shapes your financial perspectives and how you're going to fundamentally, under pressure, go and deal with money and make decisions. And this is reflected in people's lifelines. We've been seeing this for the last 22 plus years that we've been running the DNA behavior business. And when I was a CPA and a wealth manager before that, I regularly saw it. And we see it all today. The way forward is to not let yourself be on your natural hardwired behavior or your subconscious mind, is more to get aware of what your subconscious mind is and to start making more conscious decisions in your life. And that's where a coach is so important. Now, what is the strongest element impacting your money energy? Is it the amount of savings you have? Your career earning power, which comes from how you use your talents? Is it taking risks and having a growth plan? Is it your learned financial behaviors, the conscious discipline? And I was just referring to that a minute ago. Is it your relationship with money, which is based on your identity and money clarity? And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. Or is it, in fact, your heart intelligence? Is it how your heart connects to your mind and your body? And interestingly enough, the electromagnetic forces of your heart are 60 times that of your brain. So when we're talking about level of importance, how important is your heart? Your financial flexibility. This is important to have financial flexibility in your life to capitalize on opportunities and in a way, put yourself in a place to live in a quantum world if you want to do that and to make the choices when they come along. Building relationships. It's absolutely vital in your life that you have a deep set of relationships, a big network that you can call on. And then your health. Nothing's going to happen here for very long if you don't have your health. And I will say that I'll pick out 3 items here. The amount you save at a baseline level is fundamental, but only a certain amount of savings are needed to live a happy life. And I was referring to the Happiness Institute's research before. But if you don't have savings, you're not going to have the financial flexibility, which comes down to number 7 down below. But the 2 areas to really concentrate on are your relationship with money and your heart intelligence. If you can get those 2 right, everything else is going to grow from there. Now, this year, we've done a lot of work, in fact, in understanding our own business. It's been quite therapeutic for me in some ways to go back through a lot of what we've been doing for the last 22 years. We've talked about money energy, even in the book I wrote about financial DNA in 2006. Money energy is littered through it. But we hadn't put it there in a context that I'm talking about today. And what we've come to understand more clearly and deeply is that the double helix has 2 strands. And the 2 strands are a mirror of each other. And so in the context of DNA behavior, there is a behavior strand that can be your talents and your financial behaviors. And then there must be, therefore, an energy strand that is a mirror of your behavior strand. So what is your work-life energy? How do you deal with money? What is your money energy? And if you think about it, that if someone has a behavior, for example, to be outgoing, they're going to have an energy for people. If they have an energy to be, or a behavior to be planned and structured, they're going to have an energy to save money. If they have an energy, a behavior, to take risks, they'll have an energy for being venturesome. They'll have the courage to take risks. And so what is showing out for us is that in understanding behavior, we're also understanding the energy forces that pervade over our lives. And in our system now, over the last 22 years, we've learned how to measure 4,000 or more behaviors. Every one of those behaviors has an energy field. And this all comes to light through taking a discovery process, the DNA natural behavior discovery process, that takes just now 10 minutes. On average, it's 10 minutes. And it measures at 97.1% accuracy. But what I'm bringing out here is, side by side with understanding the talent behaviors and the financial behaviors, you can understand the work-life energy of a person and their money energies. Now, here are some of the behaviors that we measure in the system. This is the more traditional side of behavioral discovery. And whether you all on the call use our system or not, you'll have seen some of this potentially in other systems. Now, as I said, we measure 4,000 insights, but I've just broken this down into one graph today. We have 10 what I call core unique styles of people. So I mentioned the CEO before, Jenny, she's an engager, and Leon and I are initiators. But Leon and I are extremely different in our styles of being an initiator, because once you start breaking that down across the behavioral traits and sub-factors that sit underneath this, you start to see quite big differences. That's why we've been able to work together successfully for the last 10 or more years. And I'm fortunate to have Leon's balance in our team, because I'm more of a results-driven initiator and Leon's somewhat more relational. But this is the information you're all used to seeing in some format, whether you use our system or other systems. But side by side with that, you can get reporting on your natural behavior money influences. So you would see here, for me as an initiator, here are some of the behaviors and the energy forces that sit around me in terms of how I'm going to deal with money. And then for Jenny, who I used as a CEO example before, these are some of hers. And loss of lifestyle, spending money was a stress factor for her. And I mentioned that in the story. So you quickly start to see through these measurements where the functional problem might sit for somebody deep down in their DNA hardwired behavior that's set by the time they are 7 years old. This is, in a way, is the subconscious habitual way a person is going to act. Now, we can all work our way out of that life or automatic decision-making by being more conscious. And it's what I call check yourself before you wreck yourself. Now, in terms of the DNA money energy measurement formula, given that money energy is essentially behavioral, we measure it behaviorally using the inputs that exist in our DNA behavior system. And so I've talked a lot about so far the natural behavior, and in here, in your natural financial behavior capability, which is your natural level of money energy, there are three key forces, behaviors, being your savings propensity, your propensity to set goals, and your risk taking. And blended together, that brings a natural financial behavior capability. If all those three are high, then your money energy starts out at a higher level. But that doesn't mean that that's where your money energy ends up, or where your life ends up, or how much money you make comes into being at the end of the day. There are learned behaviors, and we have a separate process for measuring that to see how you are adapting yourself. And this flows through your quality life performance, which is an exercise that we have you complete as well online, that looks at how you have integrated money across all areas of your life, and it takes a look at your happiness level and your health levels as well. And so if you get high scores in all of the elements there, and I'll show you that in a minute, then you're likely to have a high money relationship integration, which is foundational to your opportunities. The opportunities are what expand your world, and that's why we've used here the squaring up, because what we've done is built this formula off the Einstein quantum energy measurement formula. And if you can be in a place to take advantage of opportunities that come up in your life, you can make quantum leaps. But if you haven't got the money relationship integration right, the opportunities don't come about. And the opportunities are made up of your financial flexibility. So this is where having some money does count, in that if you've got assets and income that are surplus over your expenditures and debt, then you will have some degree of financial flexibility. But it's also important that you have the human capital, that you've invested in yourself. I always say that a person that can have 3 or more ways to make income outside of their passive investing will be a wealthy person. That's why education is important, having a varied set of skills and talents. Your relationship network's very important. If something goes wrong in your life, the ability to draw on a relationship, or you're in a prosperous state of your life, again, to be able to feed that relationship network and go further. Because at the end of the day, it's people that bring you the opportunities to go further in the world. What plan giving are you doing? How are you sowing into the world? And there's lots of ways to do that. It doesn't just have to be giving money. It can be giving your time. It can be giving your energy. It can be giving your heart to people. All opens up opportunities. And so we have a mechanism to evaluate the opportunities that you have currently. And we put all this together into a score and create your money energy score. Now, that money energy score is going to go up and down. It will come back to a baseline of your natural financial behavior capability. But depending on the decisions you make in your life, you can change the course of history here for yourself. And that's what's important. But also why this is important for coaching is because, as I said before, it's taking the invisibility of money and its energy to making it visible. It's giving you a starting place. It's giving you areas to work on to boost your money energy and to be able to take quantum leaps in your life. And here for Sarah Autumn, this is just a snapshot of her quality life. And if you look at the current self-assessment column, where she self-rated herself, any area under 5, that would be potentially an area where she's going to have some stress. There would be her happiness would be at stake, and these would be coaching opportunities to work with her to grow her life and her money energy. So for Sarah, getting her life purpose right and elevating that more, which is going to come down to an identity type conversation, is important. Looking at her health and recreation, so she is not investing in herself in that area, and that needs to be explored as to why not. And then her relationships. She needs to build a deeper relationship network, have better relationships potentially within a family unit. They're all areas that she needs to work on to improve her overall happiness, success, and health, and thereby her money energy. Now, I've laid the groundwork with measurement, but how do you actually amplify your money energy? How do you make it grow? It is all about mindset, because your mindset is important to how you deal with money. So that's the key thing, but there are a number of components here that we need to work on to amplify your life and build a healthier relationship to money, because that's what's going to be required here. And that's where your mindset is so important. So first thing I would always say is you've got to have equilibrium in your life. There's got to be a life balance, and the decisions you make in your life have to align to who you are. When you get out of alignment with who you are, and that starts with your identity, then life in some ways is going to go haywire. There's going to be a problem. Now, we're all made up differently. and therefore our life equilibrium is different, where we balance out is different, and therefore our money energy will be different. And what we would advocate is that the money energy that you can generate is infinite for you, but that infinite potential is different for different people. What is fundamental to boosting your money energy, to elevating your life, to quantum living, is uncovering your identity. Now, some of you as coaches would already be dealing with this in some ways, in trying to understand who a person is. But your identity is a reflection of your being. It's really an elevated status for you, how you want to show up in the world. I believe it's even more than your life purpose and your passions and your values. It's one step beyond that. How do you want to be seen in the world? That needs to be uncovered before you start talking about money as such. In fact, you don't want the energy of money and the conversations about money clouding the discussion about your identity. But at the end of the day, they are linked. You're not going to be able to have a clear discussion about money until you are clear about your identity. So they do come together, but you've got to discuss one before the other, being identity before the money, because money makes people emotional. It can be restrictive. It can be expansive as well. But getting that identity right is very important. And that is what's going to allow you to make quantum leaps in your life. And if I look at my own life, originally, I was a CPA and then a wealth manager, very numbers-orientated person. I took a step because of what I believed in and was passionate about into the behavioral sciences world. And that's where I started to really see what my own identity is as a money energy pioneer. Well, everything I do now in my life is around that. That led me to moving from Sydney, Australia, and really, in a way, giving up a fantastic lifestyle there that I had created, but at a fairly young age, to come to America and take my chances, because somehow I knew there was more for me out there in the world, and I wouldn't be fulfilled if I didn't do it. Now, there's some logics there, but there's also a lot of illogic, if you want to call it that. And why did you do that? Well, it came from my gut. It came from my heart. It was my calling to go and do it. And luckily enough, I had the financial flexibility to go and do it. I had put myself in the place in my life to take that chance, and I did. But it was all about my identity. It was an identity-based decision, not a completely rational money decision. If I had made the decision solely based on money, I would never have done it. And therefore, the potential of my life would have been limited. And there was a lot of coaching that went on around that. And being authentic here, I have a team of coaches for business coaching, life coaching, spiritual coaching, physical coaching. There is quite an army of people around me to keep Hugh in line, and to, for every decision, all of these people are consulted in their respective ways to help me grow. And again, we're always coming back to identity, heart, and money. They're the bottom lines. And I've alluded to this already today, but the heart-brain body connection is very powerful. And to understand how much heart intelligence there is in your heart in a way has its own brain. And so, a lot of what I would say is that you've got to have a strong heart from a cardiovascular point of view to live a long life. That's why my mother at 91 is still out there on the golf course and walking around and doing stuff. I've got to book appointments to see her. She's got strong physical health. But you also have to have a good heart. And remember that the heart is 60 times more powerful than the brain, and more signals are going up from your heart to your brain, not the other way around. And there's a lot of research from the Heart Math Institute if you want to go and study it. That's very helpful here. This is a big part of the conversations that we're having at DNA Behavior right now with all of our coaches and financial advisors and leaders, entrepreneurs that are working closely with us, so that we all as a community get this right and are building heart-based connection with ourselves, but with our clients and with our families, because we know that this is the part that's so powerful, and it is driving your health. And a big part of the money conversations we're learning to have is understanding your body and how this is felt, particularly the first three chakras that sit underneath your heart, because your heart will be blocked if there's money congestion sitting lower down in your body, and believe me, it's there, and it comes back to stress. And so there's a lot of dots that can be connected there, but they're the conversations we have at DNA Behavior. It's not just going through some insights off a sheet of paper from a behavioral report. It's all about how this is practically applied. And that's why I always come back to saying that the behavioral insights we have are measuring your energy, and they are measuring what is going on between your heart, brain, and your body. And it's again about getting conscious of it. Now, not all of us feel fully what's going on all the time, are aware of what's going on all the time, or even know what the stress we have is, because the energy of money is very subtle. And in a way, sometimes stress can be very subtle. We can push it down for a long time. But what we've learned to do is to measure our heart rate variability. And I wear a device on my wrist, a Whoop band, to measure my heart rate variability. And being honest, when I started doing that, it was really for fitness reasons, and to manage, how much exercise I did in a day, and to see where I was at, and sort of in a way to keep me jigged up in maintaining an exercise regime. But what I realize is that as more I've understood about heart rate variability, it is measuring stress as well. It's reflective of your sleep, of the foods you eat and when you eat them. You name it, the whole lot really of your physiology is being reflected there. And so now, when I make major decisions, and before I make major decisions, and even before I came on this call today to lead you through the webinar, I'll look at my heart rate variability. I look at the stress levels. I've got another device to measure all of those. And so wouldn't it be an interesting step forward that in your coaching businesses, and you're helping your clients make a major decision, and you're helping them monitor that decision, that you talk to them about their heart rate variability. How comfortable are they? Because it's easy to have a conversation. Going and doing it's another matter. And how much are they keeping awake at night about that choice? And hopefully, part of your job is to get them comfortable and confident, so they can go to sleep at night by having the courage to make the right choice, even if that might seem hard at the time. But this is a way to sort of look from the outside in to see what's going on and get an early read. You can, again, use the DNA behavior insights to align the mind and the heart. I will say that in a natural sense, a natural DNA sense, I would tend to be a mind type person. Results, bottom line. I've had to work on the heart side. Others of us are born more to be heart-centered. We're feelings-based people. We work on relationships first. At the end of the day, both are important. You've got to get both these angles right, or sides of who you are right, and in alignment to make quantum leaps in your life. That's when the growth's going to come. So the next part of all of this is, as a coach, is being able to lead a money energy conversation. And I'll emphasize again, because of the omnipresence of money, this is something really that you've got to be doing whether you want to do it or not. This is not just the domain of a financial advisor. Now, there's no reason why, as a business coach, you can't bring a financial advisor in to the room as well to talk about some of the money issues. But even for those financial advisors on the call, you've got to deal with the issue of money in your own life, and more broadly, what it means in the life of your client, and not just the portfolio construction. But money is a taboo subject for many of us. It's just that subject we don't talk about. And I was, in fact, having breakfast with a great friend of mine in Sydney last week, who's the CEO of a very large organisation. I won't use its name for identification reasons. And he's done well in his job. He's a smart guy. He's got 2 daughters in their early 20s. Do they want to have a conversation about money? He told me, no, they don't. Don't want to talk about it, Dad. The way he's got in there to take the elephant out of the room is through philanthropy. So they have started to say to their dad, and they've been invited to, well, maybe we give a little bit of money to these organizations. The thing is with money is that it is high energy. It's very emotional, but we have to have a way to take the elephant out of the room and to be able to have those discussions, to be able to stop it from being taboo. If we're ever going to get past really just dealing in our subconscious self and to make more conscious decisions. Now, the point of having the money conversation and the approach is not to discuss money itself first up. Our technique, which many others follow out there, is to talk about the person's identity, their life purpose, and their goals first. That's the starting point. And I've been referencing that a little bit today. Then the next step is to imagine a painted picture of living your quality life. And when a facilitator or a coach of mine did that with me 21 years ago, in 2002 is when I made the decision I'd come and live in America. I designed out my painted picture, and today all of that has been manifested. I drew a picture. Okay, I had my identity already essentially sorted out, even though the terminology's changed a bit. And that's what's unfolded. And I've made the decisions towards that. So that's a big part of it, is to be able to draw that painted picture with people. And that's not a hard exercise, and you can guide them through it. And then you start talking about what money means to them. How is it going to be financed? What steps you take first? But the point is to get the clarity of who you are first, and then the money clarity comes. And that's what we teach you in our training. And the discovery processes that we have are all helpful for that. Now, an area that we are having big discussions with at DNA, and I mentioned this before, is longevity. And I've been quite open with a lot of people that I have joined the 120 Club. So Hugh Massey has decided to live to 120. So I am making decisions in my life now, and I'm not 60, so I'm not even halfway through. I'm approaching 60, but I'm a little way away from 60. But I am making conscious decisions in my life to give myself the best chance of living longer, because there's no point living longer if it's not going to be a quality life. And the quality life will be ruined by your health. There's no point being, if you can help it, in a wheelchair or confined in some way from the things that you do. You know, again, look at my mother at 91 years old. She's out and about doing lots of different things. She even traveled overseas to meet my family this year. That's all mindset, because it'd be easy to say, well, I'm too old. I'm not going to go and do that. That's not the way. And I think this is part of what I want to bring up, and it's a conversation about epigenetics, and it's something that we have a big discussions with, as I said, at our conferences, is that you don't have just to be confined to your DNA, to the DNA genes. Yes, they are there, but just the fact that your father or your mother or grandfather or uncle had a genetic predisposition to something, and that you might, does not mean that you have to live that out. You can make choices to overcome that. And, there's some people who say that it's the DNA is only 5% of the game. Others will say it's 20%. The point being is it's not as big as you think it is, and you don't have to be resigned to it. It's about making the right choices in your life. And this is important for the coaching. And this is why I would emphasize that stress is so important to eliminate as much as you can. It's probably not realistic to think that there will be no stress in life, because that's not true. There will be. But how you take that away from being sustained stress is important. A little bit of stress is good because it makes you think, it makes you innovate, take a risk somewhere. But long-term sustained stress is a problem. And so we're all about managing the 4 chambers of your personal life energy. And, in wrapping up here, what I would say is that your money energy is not separate from your mind energy, your body energy, and your food energy. They are all at work together. If you are stressed about money, there's a good chance you will be eating worse. You'll have more sugars going into your body. You'll be eating more of the wrong carbohydrates. That will take your body energy down. You don't feel like doing the exercise that you need to do. It's very hard to outrun what you eat. So that's something to think about. And as I said before, the way that stress carries through your body is very important to understand. And then there's your mind at work as well. And these are all interwoven together. And if you can get them all right and have that growth mindset, that quantum living mindset, then you can boost your money energy. It's about changing. At the end of the day, it's about changing your habits. It's about changing your thinking. And that's what we, as coaches, are here to do. The starting point for each of us is different. In fact, I started my journey into all of this on the body energy part in doing some balance work with a golf trainer, just physical balance work, because that was part of me living longer, but also playing golf longer. That took me right through all the next steps that came after that, because I started to feel good and I could see what was going on. And then I started looking at the HRV and bringing more discipline into my life. So, in moving to the future here, clearly we would love it if all of you engage with DNA behavior at a deeper level. And I know some of you already use systems to talk about strengths and people's talents and what their struggles or weaknesses might be, or areas of development might be. And no one's saying you don't have to keep using those systems. But if you want to understand the money dimension, then we bring that in side by side with the talent discovery. And at the end of the day, with my team, we are leading a money energy movement. This is our sole focus. And we are not only talking about behavior, but we are talking about, and money, but we're talking about all of your personal life energies, how they come together so that you can live longer, have better relationships, a greater quality of life within that, contribute more to the community, and have a much greater impact. And something I hadn't said in this is, which comes with identity and the money conversation, is how do you measure success in your life? And often when I ask that question, people will say, well, the amount of money that I have in my bank account is the measurement of my success. Well, I think that is going to lead to a lot of stress and misery. And what happens if you don't have the same amount of money? Are you now a worse or lesser person? If you can find a way to measure the success of your life around your identity with some other measurement stick, then you're going to go much further. And for me, it's about how many lives do I impact in the world every year. And, there's a financial consequence of that quite clearly, but it's about impact. So if that's something for each of you to think about, and that's what we're doing as we build a movement. Now, starting on 1 January, we are rolling out a huge upgrade of our technology systems, and you're going to see even more clearly the talent or behavior insights sitting beside the money insights. This is a comparison report for two people, but you're going to see it in very simple language. It's going to be a much greater screen digital experience. The money insights sit beside the behavior insights. As I said, you can create dashboard cards so that you can bring up just the insights that you want for that particular part of the coaching conversations or advisory conversations that you're going to have with a person. You can change the look and the feel of it, the colors, everything to have the conversation that you want to have at the level of depth that you want to have and learn from it. And this is the shuffle card. So, everybody's going to want to have different information. This is customization. You can take our 4,000 insights and pull up whatever you want on each person to show them. So 1 January, this is going to be there for all of you to take advantage of. Our existing clients will progressively roll over into this. So I encourage you to, as we wrap up here, to read our Money Energy white paper to get a fuller picture of what I've been talking about today, and you can download it there off our website. You can go and complete a trial and start seeing for yourself, and we'd be delighted to talk to you about it. You could read some of our blogs, and you can explore our products. We've got also a new website being launched next week, which will make even this more clear and exciting and inspiring to look at. So, Leon, I'm gonna finish there and just see. I can see a couple of questions in the chat, but maybe if you just pull them out, if anybody else wants to ask something as well, that would be great.
Yeah, and there's a Q&A box there if you do have a question. The feedback's great presentation, informative information, Hugh, quite informative. But one question that did come in, I'm not a financial coach, so more on the typical business side. Do you have sort of a recommendation, because it feels a little overwhelming maybe to get started? Do you have sort of a suggestion about how to get started really learning this?
Yeah, I always recommend to start off with baby steps, and the first step would be just to go in and explore our system from a talent side and get comfortable with what your own talents are. Do your own trial, get comfortable with that, and then we can through the introductory conversation, we can show you the money insights and how that comes about for you. And then perhaps come to one of our events where we do some training, where we unlock it a little bit and get you to start asking questions that are not money related, but you'll have more insight on to start spotting what the money issue might be. And so that's the way to get started. But I can see why you might say it's overwhelming, but it is overwhelming if you just think money and investments, as opposed to if you just think about the fact that there is an energy field there, there's a blockage potentially for your clients. And what might that be? And that the starting point is not to directly address that, but is to address really who they are in terms of their identity and what their goals are. This conversation gets far easier. Yeah. And our system is not set up with what I call a lot of psychological language. It's very friendly, and we have lots of guides that you can use that can show you how to have these conversations, videos to watch. So hopefully that helps. We find most people that start with us actually don't do very much training at all because of the way we set all this up. But there is plenty of training there if you want it.
Yeah, a couple other questions here that I think are relevant on this. And what tools are you using to measure HRV? I think that was a good one because you did mention that.
So the one I personally use is a Whoop band. Leon uses an Apple Watch, and we've got people using an Oura Ring. There are various devices out there. I also wear a Garmin watch, which is golf driven, but it's got a whole lot of other statistics related to stress in there and health metrics as well. So there are plenty of tools, and one of our papers lists out what some of the other tools are out there to measure HRV.
Very good, Hugh. And then just the last one, I know we're kind of right on time, and that's how does someone join your money energy movement?
Join the money energy.
How do I join the money energy movement?
Okay, well, the first step is go and do your discovery trial and let us show you what all this means for you. And then if you want to subscribe for our discovery package, you're in. But at the same time, if you're not ready to do that, we have an educational series of blogs and papers that can come to you that, if you sign up for the Money Energy Digital Service, which is step 3 there, just by joining that, you started to join the movement, because that's going to help you change the conversations and see real life stories and what's going on day by day with this.
Excellent. Hugh, there's one more question. I think that's, you mentioned that you consult with different coaches with expertise in one area. How do you suggest financial advisors manage or become financial experts, exploring a more holistic coaching with DNA behavior? And at what point does a coach dilute themselves too much by spreading themselves too thin?
Yeah, I think it's important to keep to your domain experience, and you can only take a client as far as you've been yourself. That's always been my life principle. So you can't. It's hard to coach people on areas that you haven't been down yourself. But if you are the financial advisor, the first thing is just to change your mindset about what financial advice is, and that it's investments. It's broader than that. It's, to think about it as life and money, and learn to bring in it's what we call the wealth mentoring conversation, to bring in life type questions, coaching with a coaching style to the conversation. And then it's a matter of looking at bringing into play a network of people that could speak into your client's life, but you are the quarterback or the main facilitator for that client. And again, just the more aware that you get of yourself across different domain expertise, but also the 4 personal life energy batteries that I showed you before in the heart chamber, your competence will go up, and you'll be able to at least be a better facilitator. You don't have to be the person taking somebody to the gym or to the golf course or whatever, but or even be their therapist. There's no need for all that. There are other people to do that. But the more you get aware of all this, the deeper you can speak into your client's life, and that's where you will engage them. You're not going to engage them just talking about money. You're going to engage them in talking about their longevity and all aspects of their life. And that's really why you would join our money energy movement.
Excellent, Hugh. And as we wrap up, one comment: the work is fascinating. I can't wait to share it with my clients. It's all clear to me, and I'm part of the movement.
All right. Well, fantastic. And we're here to answer questions that any one of you have at any time. Hope all of you have a wonderful holiday season and be safe and will be healthy, but get prepared to be healthier next year. Still enjoy Christmas. Don't let me tell you not to have any sugar at Christmas, because I am. But that'll stop on January 2. All right. We'll have a wonderful holiday season again.
Thank you all.
Leon.